All right, in this tutorial, we're going to see how we can have a button that acts as a character selector. So here I've just made two little objects that are buttons, and when you click on either the kiwi or the purple bird, you can select your character. So here in this instance, I'm going to click on the purple bird and then start, and then instead of the kiwi, we have the purple bird. You'll notice that when he runs into the bug, has the same actions as the kiwi. So we don't have to reprogram much, we just have to indicate what sprite the kiwi is going to have. So we'll look and see how we do that now. The first thing we have to do is we have to have something new called a global variable. So a global variable will apply, as the name sounds like, it'll apply to all of the sprites. So it's global, it's not just local. Local, the other variables we've looked at just apply to one sprite, but in this instance we can have a global, and it's sort of can be accessed by any of the objects in the game. So what I have done is I've made a new object. It has no sprite associated. It's sort of like the controller object, and I've named it obj global choice because this is just a place where we'll create our variable and it will allow us to make choices. When I made that, I ticked this persistent, and persistent means that it goes across like all the rooms of the game. So once I put it in the title screen, it will have persistence throughout the game. So persistent means ongoing. Now I put in a create event. So upon creating of this little global object, we want to create a variable. So in the control, I just dragged out a variable, and this is a little bit different. Instead of just naming it character choice or char choice, I've called it global dot, and that's important, global dot, and then char or character underscore choice. Remember, we don't put spaces in our file names, no gaps, or sorry, in our variable names or object names. Now by default, I just set the value to 2. So it could be 0, 1, and I have decided that 2 will be the purple and 1 will be the kiwi. So that's just a decision, but just have a scheme. How are you going to assign which character choices there are? And I just made it by default 2. We could change that to 1, so by default it will end up being the kiwi. So global dot character underscore choice. I'll add a code comment in here because remember, for your internal and just for programming in general, it's a very important thing to have code commenting. So I'm going to say create a global variable that will hold the character choice. The object is persistent, so it is available in all rooms. So that's a good explanation of that variable and also of our object. So let's just go into the room, and I'll get onto that later. But if you just place an instance of your new object, mine object global choice, and I'll just place one in the room. So it's much like your controller object. The next thing that we need to do, I have already done these things, but I just created our other sprites. So I have a left and a right facing purple bird, because we need, if we're going to have character choices, we need to have all the same options. So since we have sprite kiwi left and sprite kiwi right, we also need that for our other character choice. So if you were to have 2 or 3 character choices, then you need 2 or 3 character sprites, and you need them in all versions, so left, right, up, whatever you have for your object. And then the other thing is I've created just a little separate object so that you can click on that. So this one I've called object purple bird choice. Long name, but it's not actually the purple bird, because we don't want to make more programming that would be inefficient, but this is just a little object that we can click on. It could be a button that just says purple bird. And the event on that is when the left button is clicked, we're going to set that global variable. So I just added the mouse event. And then let's look at this. So I've said to set the variable in the object global choice. So I'm setting it in another object. And which variable am I setting? I'm setting the global dot character choice, and I'm setting its value to 2, because 2 is my that's my value for the purple. So let's go ahead and add in a code comment for that. So when the user selects the purple bird button, the variable for the global character choice is set to 2. So from now on, what we'll do is we're going to check in the object kiwi, what is the global variable set to? If it's 2, it will use the object, it'll use the purple bird sprite. If it's 1, it'll use the kiwi sprites. Okay, the other thing I did was make an object. This is just our button to click on. It's called object kiwi choice. And again, adding an event, mouse click. So when the mouse is clicked on that particular little button or icon, I'm setting that global dot character choice variable to 1. And remember that I've set it in that object global choice, because it's just our sort of global persistent object that anything can access. And its value is 1, indicating that it will be the kiwi. That's the one we want. So I'll add in a code comment for that. When the user clicks on the kiwi choice button, the global character choice variable is set to 1. In the room, notice that I've put those objects. So that's object kiwi choice and object purple bird choice. And now those are clickable because of the actions and events that we've set. And finally, we have to look at our object kiwi. So we don't need to make a whole other object for the purple bird, because that would require that we did all the same programming. That would be inefficient. So all we do is we say on create. So when we create the object, we just need to designate what sprite it should use. And how do we do that? We'll have a check variable action. So we'll test this variable. And which variable will we test? The global dot character choice. And we'll see if it's equal to 1. And remember, 1 is kiwi. So if it's equal to 1, we'll change it into the left facing sprite for the kiwi. Else, or otherwise, it must be the purple bird. So we'll change it into the purple bird sprite. So I will add in another comment. So we'll say check which sprite to use for the main player object. This will be determined by the global character choice variable. And that would be fine, except for that we have different states. That would be all we'd need to do, except for when we press the left key, we'd need it to change into the appropriate left-facing sprite, and when we press the right key, we need it to change into the appropriate right-facing sprite. So we'll just look at that. It's the exact same pattern. So we'll have a check variable. So we're going to look and say test. If that global, and remember we are always using now global dot character underscore choice. If that's equal to 1, then when we press the left key, we want to turn into the left kiwi sprite. Else, we'll turn into the left purple bird sprite. So sprite purple bird left. And adding in that code comment. Use the global character choice variable to determine whether to use the left kiwi or left purple bird sprite. And same exact thing for the right. So we'll determine on the right if the global dot character choice variable is equal to 1, then now we're going to go into the right facing kiwi, otherwise right facing purple bird. And we can add a code comment for that. So determine which sprite to use for the right facing character, either the purple bird or the kiwi, depending on the value of the global character choice. And again, just to show you that it works, I will pick the kiwi this time, start, and now we have the kiwi. So that's all there is to it. It's just that you have to remember to use globals, and you need to remember the persistency. So that's a new sort of introduction. Remember that you need to have good variable names, good naming conventions.